The latest surveys indicate that a clear majority of Americans back the idea of holding the former president accountable through conviction and removal from future federal office eligibility. According to a recent ABC News Talks Ipsos survey, 56% of participants believe Donald Trump ought to face impeachment proceedings and be prohibited from seeking any federal position again. Joining us now is our White House correspondent, Mary Alice Parks, to provide further details. Mary Alice, this data reveals broad agreement among the public on pursuing these measures against the ex-president. Just how significant does that public backing prove for senators weighing the case? For Democrats, this level of support carries substantial weight. It explains much of why party leaders have pressed ahead, even as President Biden focuses intently on advancing his legislative priorities from the Oval Office. On Capitol Hill, Democrats recognize solid backing from voters nationwide, and there's been no notable splintering within their caucus. They aim to conduct the full proceedings openly so citizens can follow every step, convinced that sentiment aligns with their position. Those figures show only a modest edge, just over half, favoring conviction and a ban on future office. It's far from a decisive sweep, yet it still suggests widespread acceptance of the accusations leveled at the former president. Recent polling from ABC News and Ipsos confirms that 56% of respondents support convicting Donald Trump and blocking his path to federal office in the future. This public endorsement gives Democrats considerable momentum as they proceed. Despite the president's desire to concentrate on his own policy goals, the party remains unified, showing no internal cracks. They insist on keeping the trial visible to the entire country. The results point to a narrow majority endorsing conviction, which hardly qualifies as overwhelming consensus. What stands out even more is the former president's own statements to fellow Republicans. He has warned that a Democratic takeover of Congress in the 2026 midterm elections would almost certainly lead to yet another impeachment effort against him. This concern reflects a genuine anxiety that the Senate could muster enough votes for conviction this time. It's a notable change for someone who previously dismissed impeachment threats as inconsequential and appeared untouchable. Lately, he seems preoccupied with vote counts among GOP senators who might shift their stance, whose positions feel secure, and what fallout could follow for his tenure and long-term prospects. During his second impeachment process, 57 senators voted to convict, marking the broadest cross-party support seen in any such vote throughout U.S. history. That left him just 10 votes short of removal from office, a remarkably narrow escape. His standing in public opinion has declined steadily, with controversies mounting. Increasing numbers of Republicans struggle to justify continued defense of him. He understands that should Democrats regain control of the House or Senate in 2026 and pursue fresh impeachment charges tied to recent events, those missing 10 votes might materialize. A conviction could result in his ouster and a permanent prohibition from federal office. That scenario represents his primary concern, prompting relentless appeals to Republicans to hold congressional majorities. Breaking down the demographics in this poll reveals clear patterns. Among Hispanic Americans, 65% favor conviction and removal. For white Americans, the figure stands at 42%. Age differences also emerge sharply. Among those under 45, 56% support conviction and removal, compared with only 47% among those 45 and older. And David, what do Americans say about calling witnesses during the Senate proceedings? This particular finding may carry the greatest significance. 69% insist witnesses must participate. In an era when unity on issues feels rare, often less than 70% agree on anything, this stands out as exceptionally strong consensus. Looking by party affiliation adds another layer. Remarkably, 48% of Republicans in the survey agree witnesses belong in the process. His awareness of these stakes drives much of his urgency. Public views show firm demand for responsibility. A notable 65% of Hispanic respondents and 42% of white respondents back conviction and removal. Younger voters lean more heavily toward accountability, with 56% under 45 in favor versus 47% among older groups. Turning to the question of witnesses in the trial, the response is striking. 69% overall say yes, they should be called. That's a broad agreement in a deeply polarized climate. Even nearly half of Republicans, 48%, support including them. Reflecting on statements from January 6, 2026, the former president delivered a blunt message to House Republicans. Failure to hold Congress in the midterms guarantees another impeachment attempt, no exceptions. He recognizes Democrats stand prepared to act. An earlier effort in 2025 fizzled due to Republican control of the House, but regaining even one chamber would provide new grounds. Potential bases include unreleased Epstein-related documents, claims of unauthorized military actions in Venezuela, handling of classified materials, and various ICE-related matters. Each could form the foundation for impeachment articles. Time works against him. While impeachment serves as the initial step, the true danger lies in Senate conviction. He knows this from coming within 10 votes during the second trial, where 57 senators found him guilty. 7 Republicans crossed party lines then, figures such as Romney, Murkowski, Collins, and others. They examined evidence tied to January 6th and concluded his conduct crossed unacceptable boundaries. Romney described it as a shameful failure to fulfill his responsibilities. These were established GOP senators, not fringe voices, willing to hold a president from their own party accountable. That vote set a record for bipartisanship in conviction support, yet it fell short of the 67 needed, missing by 10. Still, those 7 created a meaningful benchmark, proving some Republicans will break away when facts demand it. Since then, his public support has eroded further amid accumulating issues. Defending his actions grows harder for many in the party. It's plausible those 7 could expand to 10, 12, or beyond with compelling new evidence. If legal challenges intensify and pressure builds on GOP senators, the landscape turns risky for him. Public backing for conviction already existed strongly in earlier polls. 56% in 2021 favored it, with just 43% opposed, when his ratings stood higher. Today, with fresh controversies, declining numbers, and shifts among suburban voters, that support likely exceeds previous levels. Senators track voter sentiment closely, as re-election depends on it. In competitive states where independents prove decisive, a tilt toward removal could ease guilty votes. Conviction carries profound consequences beyond removal. A simple majority can impose a lifelong ban from federal office. For someone whose identity revolves around the presidency, that outcome destroys his influence, relevance, and any shield from legal accountability. Losing the ability to run again or mount comebacks leaves him exposed as a private individual facing multiple investigations. No executive protections remain. Small wonder he appears deeply troubled by the prospect. The constitutional threshold requires 67 senators for conviction, a high bar meant to guard against purely partisan outcomes while allowing action against grave misconduct. He has faced this twice already. The first, over Ukraine, garnered 52 guilty votes, short. The second, linked to January 6th, reached 57, including 7 Republicans, a closer call that signals willingness among some to act against party pressure when warranted. Those 7, Romney, Collins, Murkowski, Cassidy, Burr, Toomey, Sassy, spanned diverse states and perspectives, yet united on the severity of events. Romney's words stood out, condemning incitement of violence as dereliction of duty. Some no longer serve. Burr and Toomey retired, Sassy resigned, potentially easing pressure. Yet replacements could respond similarly to strong evidence. New charges would force tough choices, overlook violations, or hold accountable amid constituent demands. Undeniable facts and shifting opinion might sway additional Republicans. The gap remains 10 votes from 57 to 67. With a balanced Senate, that demands at least 10 GOP defections alongside all Democrats. Challenging, yet not impossible, especially post-2026 shifts. Scandals like Venezuela military moves without approval, Epstein document issues, or court defiance could strengthen the case beyond January 6th. He tracks these dynamics obsessively: specific senators' leanings, safe seats, 2026 risks, viewing it as high-stakes strategy. Ironically, his own conduct supplies much of the material for critics. Actions around Epstein materials, judicial resistance, and unauthorized Venezuela operations fuel potential articles. Democrats catalog these carefully, ready if they reclaim the House. Polls suggest viability. They'd target clearest violations, hard for even conservatives to dismiss. Opinion continues moving against him. Earlier, 56% support for conviction could rise with new developments. At 60% or higher, senators feel greater pressure. Career considerations often outweigh loyalty. Betting indicators reflect real discussion of another impeachment by late 2026. A Democratic House gain could trigger proceedings swiftly, leading to Senate deliberation in 2027. The core fear: conviction plus ban via majority vote. Democrats would pursue it to eliminate future threats. Removal alone allows spinning a narrative of victimhood for 2028. A ban ends that entirely, reducing him to a former figure facing charges without safeguards. His ratings hover low. Recent surveys show disapproval climbing, with suburban and independent voters drifting away. Each controversy deepens the slide. Republicans increasingly weigh whether association helps or harms their futures. If voters demand distance, conviction becomes a viable path for self-preservation. Democrats hold viable grounds: clear war powers, breaches in Venezuela via unauthorized action and leader capture, obstruction tied to Epstein files, potential DOJ misuse against opponents. These rest on documented facts, complicating defenses. Historically unique as the twice-impeached president, a third would reinforce perceptions of exceptional misconduct, offering senators justification. 2 acquittals sufficed, but this crosses the line. His anxiety underscores vulnerability. Survival ties to GOP congressional control, hence constant warnings. Yet his behavior alienates swing voters, burdening down-ballot candidates and risking exactly the losses he dreads. This creates a self-reinforcing loop. Actions breed scandals, weaken GOP prospects, heighten Democratic chances, and elevate impeachment risks. Markets assign non-trivial odds to impeachment by year's end, signaling it's no fringe notion. Should Democrats prevail in November, proceedings could accelerate, testing whether 67 senators reach guilty, aware 57 already did once. With slipping ratings and mounting issues, additional defections remain conceivable. We stand at a pivotal juncture. Continued trends could lead to conviction and a decisive end to his political viability. The coming months will reveal if the system holds him fully accountable.